Hospitals, places of healing, places of hope. But have you ever wondered what lingers in the shadows when the lights flicker? Have you ever heard footsteps in an empty hallway, whispers from an unseen presence, or felt a cold breath on your neck when no one was there? Tonight, I will tell you a story so terrifying that you may never look at hospitals the same way again. A story that is not fiction, but a horrifying reality. One that I experienced firsthand when I worked the night shift in a hospital with a dark, disturbing past. If you dare, listen to the end. But be warned, this story may follow you long after you hear it. The night shift from Helly. Have always believed in logic, science. I never entertained ghost stories, even when my colleagues warned me about the things they had seen. Hospitals are full of death, they said. Some patients never leave, but I laughed it off. Until one night I stopped laughing. It was a cold, rainy night when I was assigned the graveyard shift at St. Mark's Hospital, a 120-year-old facility known for its trauma and psychiatric wards. Half of the building had been shut down for decades due to asbestos and structural instability. But the staff whispered another reason. They claimed that the abandoned floors were haunted. I thought it was just a joke, but that night I learned the truth. The room that shouldn't exist. It started at 2:47 a.m. I was making my rounds when I noticed something strange on my tablet. A patient had been checked into room 733. There was just one problem. Room 733 didn't exist. I frowned, thinking it was a system glitch. The hospital had shut down the entire West Wing years ago, sealing it off. But the screen insisted there was a patient in that room. I even saw the name. Patient name, unknown age. Diagnosis, a cold shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't possible. I checked with the charge nurse, hoping she'd laugh and tell me it was a system error. But when she saw the screen, she went pale. "Not again," she whispered. Then she grabbed my arm. "Listen to me. Do not go to that room. Just ignore it." Then she walked away, refusing to say another word. But I couldn't ignore it. Not when room 733 kept calling me. The patient who never left. The moment I stepped into the West Wing, the air changed. It was ice cold, and I swear the walls were breathing. The old paint seemed to move like something was shifting underneath. I reached where room 733 should be, but it was just an empty hallway. No door. Just a solid wall. Then, the hallway lights flickered, and suddenly, there it was. Room 733. The door was old, wooden, and had deep scratch marks, as if something had tried to claw its way out. My heart pounded as I pushed it open. Inside was a hospital bed, and on that bed, a man was lying there, pale, thin, eyes open, staring right at me. "Help me," he whispered, and then he sat up. Trapped in a nightmare, I stumbled back, my breathing ragged. My radio crackled, and the nurse's voice whispered through, "Get out, now!" I turned to leave, but the door was gone. The walls had shifted again, twisting, pulsing. The room wasn't a room anymore. It was something else. Something alive. And then the patient got off the bed. His joints cracked, his spine contorted at impossible angles, and his eyes, black voids, never left mine. "You came for me," he rasped. "Now you stay." The lights died, and I felt cold fingers wrap around my throat. Escape, or so I thought. I don't remember how I got out. The next thing I knew, I was in the hallway, gasping for air. The door to room 733, gone, as if it never existed. I ran back to the nurse's station, but when I tried to tell them what happened, they all refused to meet my eyes. The charge nurse simply said, "You shouldn't have gone there." She handed me an old patient file. My hands trembled as I read the name. Patient name, unknown date, admitted 1921, date of death. There was no discharge date, no official cause of death, just a single note written in shaking handwriting. "Still here." That was the last shift I ever worked at St. Mark's. I quit the next morning. Years later, I found an article about the hospital. It confirmed what I feared. Room 733 never existed in the blueprints. But then I read the chilling part. A patient in 1921 was locked in a hidden room, left to die after a botched experimental surgery. The hospital tried to cover it up, but some say his soul never left. To this day, nurses still report seeing a shadowy figure lurking in the West Wing. Some even say they hear a whisper, always at 2:47 a.m. Help me. Warning to you, now that you've heard my story, let me ask you again. Do you believe in ghosts? Because if you ever find yourself in an old hospital and you hear your name whispered from an empty room, do not go inside. Because some patients never leave. If you made it to the end, you're braver than most. But tell me, have you ever experienced something paranormal? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this terrifying tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because I have more horror stories coming. But be careful. Some stories have a way of following you.